Hey kids, welcome back to Uncle Fezzi's Mad Lab. I'm going to do a video dump. I got a whole bunch of projects I have laid out here on the table, and I figured might as well bring the video camera out and show them. I am going to do a short, hopefully short video on the power window switch in my wife's car, so we'll get to that one later. But first, what you'd all like to know, and you're all going to get a good fucking giggle out of this, is my fat ass broke my chair. So in my, one of the very first things that I printed with my 3D printer was these blocks to raise my chair up. And, quite frankly, it worked really well until it didn't anymore. Now, I printed these out of PETG carbon fiber. And it literally was one of the first things I printed. And, not for nothing, I'm not going to move the video camera because it's not really worth it. But I recently, over the last 6 months or so, I started putting mats down on the floor in here. Not for nothing, I got gout. And my feet bother me if I stand here too long. And I like to take my shoes off. Now that I'm not blowing glass in here on a regular basis, the floor isn't covered with glass. But it is concrete and, hey. So I bought these mats at Costco. They're not really designed for this purpose. And one of the things that they are is they're really thick. So my fat ass kept going like this, trying to get my chair to go over the edge of the mat. So when I was sitting at my desk over there, it was more comfortable. And well, the result was this thing got broke. So the carriage bolt goes through the bottom of this. I do a whole video on it, right? So the carriage bolt goes through the bottom of this, and then this is what holds the carriage bolt in place. This actually goes together like this. Yeah. I can't get it back together because it's broke. Now, like I said, I was really new when I started doing the printing. So I didn't realize, or I didn't know how to adjust. Well, I didn't know materials, and I didn't know how to adjust the infill and wall thickness and general thickness of my parts. Like I didn't know what I was doing. So literally I just clicked strength, click OK, and away we went. So actually when I assembled this the first time, you can see here that it had crushed. Now that crush began the cascade of this thing falling apart. That and my fat ass trying to get the casters to go over like a 3/8 inch thick lip all the time. I just kept bashing into it and it fucking broke. Shocking, right? So now that I've been futzing with this thing for well over 6 months now, I didn't redesign it because the design of the part's actually perfect, but with the materials suck balls. And actually, I don't even necessarily want to say it was the materials that was the problem, but it was definitely the way that I had printed the part. So you can see here on the inside the infill, and you can see the wall thickness. Okay, so that wall thickness is really, really, really thin. It's only like 3 or 4 layers thick. Wall loops, top surface, bottom surface. So that's why this thing came apart. So when I first tried this project, well, when I first got this material, so this is ASA. This is a much beefier, for the sake of argument, plastic. I had a terrible time trying to print it. It kept peeling up off the build plate. It was really kind of a nightmare for me to print with my X1 carbon. Because the X1 carbon, while it doesn't have a heated chamber, for one thing, and ASA likes the warp on the build plate. And these parts actually did warp, but not significantly. So I printed out 3 of them. These fucking things took 8 hours to print. Well, 2 of them took 8 hours to print. 1 took 4 hours to print. Why did it take so long? Well, because I printed these at like 10 layer wall thickness because of the holes, right? And then the top and bottom layers are also 10 layers thick. These things weigh a minimum of twice as much as these. I mean, these things are almost solid plastic. You hear that kind of a tink to it. So I'm not actually going to fix the chair right now because I did have a prototype part that I had made out of PLA that I installed yesterday because I had to work. So yeah, I'm hoping that these things are like, these are hefty. I only printed 3 of them because I'm going to see how long the rest of these last. I've got the file and I can print them whenever I need it, but I figured the other thing is I want the plastic, the PLA one to fail too. It was kind of funny when I tripped over in my chair, but yeah, sadly I didn't get that on video, but it definitely, all hell broke loose when this thing finally popped out of there. I heard it go crunch, and then it went and I tipped over in my chair, which was pretty funny. So there you go, my chair broke, and I printed new ones to fix it with out of ASA. Actually, you can see the warp in this. That's not a camera trick. Let me see here if it'll show up. Actually, now, hey, dumbass, why don't you reach into this board and get out of it? So there's a pretty significant amount of warpage here, especially on the corners. You know, it's not rocking and rolling, but it definitely warped. Let's see if this one. Yeah, so did that one. That one's real bad. And that one's not much better. Yeah, so they're about maybe a thou of warpage. It's not enough to pop them off the build plate. One of the first things I tried to print with ASA literally flew off the build plate like 3 or 4 times and just ruined it. But, so what is this whole video about? Oh, Plug and Vision Minor Nano Adhesive. I'm not getting paid by this company at all. I wish I was, you know, not for nothing. I'd like a free bottle of nano polymer adhesive. It goes a long way. So I bought this about a month ago and I've only used about that much. But I smeared this shit all over the plate yesterday after I printed the first one. So the first one, I had the nano adhesive on the plate, but I just gave the plate a little freshen up with some isopropyl alcohol and printed it. It didn't pop off the build plate. The print didn't fail. It worked just fine. Theoretically it failed, but because of the warpage. But the nano adhesive is so powerful that even if the ASA warps, it sticks to the build plate and kind of warps the whole build plate, which is kind of crazy, right? But there you go. My chair broke and I reprinted the parts in ASA because I learned something over the last 6 to 8 months. When did I get that? October? November? December? November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 7 months. So I built this in December, so it's been 5 months, and I've advanced to the point where now I know how to print stuff.